right, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Hot Route Takes. Hope you all had a excellent Thanksgiving. Got plenty of stuffing and ham and rolls, pecan pie, all the good stuff. Filled up on that and enjoyed a lot of good football to watch. Thursday had three games, although one was only really tightly contested. The other two a bit snooze fest, but to make up for that, Sunday was filled with a lot of good, closely contested games that we will get to later in this episode. As always, guys, we will lead it off with the Thursday game recaps. As I said, three Thanksgiving ones to get to. The first, an early congrats to Brian. He is having a great week on his pick'ems. We still got a few games to go, but he called this first one the upset of the week, maybe, especially the upset for Thursday. Thanksgiving for sure. It was the Green Bay Packers winning 29-22 over the Detroit Lions. Fast start for Green Bay. Really jumped out in front. Jordan Love, perhaps his best game of the year. 3 tutties, I believe, on the day. He just looks better and better these last 2 weeks, getting more guys involved, and the Green Bay offense is rolling. And on the flip side of things, Rashawn Gary, who is a great pass rusher, is finally staying healthier, and he really had a day on the defensive side. I believe he racked up 3 sacks in this ball game. So, Brian, what did you see from your Packers? Obviously, you last time I talked with you, you had a lot of love and think this is a playoff team still. This was a big win for them on Thanksgiving. What'd you see?
I saw Jordan Love continuing to spread the love, man. That's what I saw in this game. It wasn't one particular target or one weapon that really stood out in this game. Christian Watson did get going. He did have 94 yards with 5 receptions. He had a couple incredible catches near the sideline, showing some of the toe drag swag, if you will. But there were several young contributors continuing to be sprinkled in here and there. You know, this is a very young offense. We knew it was going to take some time, but you can kind of see things starting to gel and come together a little bit. A couple different young guys had a footprint on this game. Romeo Dobbs had 3 catches, 37 yards, and Jaden Reed, who has been a bright spot for this offense, even when it was in its worst spot, had 4 catches for 34 yards and another touchdown. So I just thought good complementary team game here. It was the offense from mainly Jordan Love. They did get some yards on the ground, but Jordan Love contributed to 40 yards rushing, and the leading rusher was A.J. Dillon. They were without Aaron Jones for this game, so that obviously hurts, but just a good team effort. The defense played well, forced 3 fumbles from Jared Goff, and he really looked uncomfortable start to finish in this football game. Detroit has a really good offensive line, so credit to Green Bay. From Detroit's perspective, you really hate to see a loss like this to an opponent you definitely thought you were better than.
Yeah, things maybe just catching up to Detroit just a bit here. They flirted with disaster last week against Chicago, and they were unable to overcome this quick early deficit at the hands of Green Bay on Thanksgiving. Maybe they figure things out in these coming weeks, but the defense has really looked horrible, just for lack of better words right now, and they got to fix that side of the ball. So the next Thanksgiving game is going to be the traditional Dallas Cowboys having their yearly Thanksgiving game, and it was a beatdown, absolute beatdown of the Washington Commanders at home, 45-10 final. Deron Bland, we mentioned his name last time I talked to you, Brian. He did set the NFL single season record for interception return TDs, his 5th of the year. Long one in this one that went for, looking at 63-yard interception return in the 4th to really, the game was already out of hand, but just a little icing on the cake. Gravy on the mashed potatoes, if you will, for Thanksgiving. Not a whole lot. I don't have much thoughts on the Commanders at this point in the year, but flipping to Dallas, I do want to say Dak, 331 yards, 4 tutties. Brian, you've experienced this with the Dolphins. People say maybe Tyreek or Tua shouldn't be in quote unquote the MVP conversation because of their wins have come against lesser teams, not a team above 500 yet. I think that's the case for Dallas as well. But when you look at Dak's season numbers, man, he's a good quarterback. And you may not take him over the upper echelon of guys, but there's a lot of other teams that would take him right now. And he's playing good football. So any notes on Dallas at all in this game, Brian? They're looking better than, honestly, any team in the NFC outside of maybe San Fran right now.
Just to comment a little bit on what you said about Dak Prescott and where his level of play is. I just think But quarterback in the NFL, you go on hot and cold streaks, and especially a guy like Dak, we've seen some ridiculous hot streaks from him. But we've also seen some lower, not as great play for extended amount of time from Dak Prescott. And just his consistency has always been the thing. But man, he's playing at MVP level right now, and you really can't say otherwise. I mean, the statistics back it up. They're winning games, and he's putting up gaudy numbers. So credit to Dak Prescott. I've kind of been one of his critics. I'm not the biggest Dak believer, but you can't deny what you're seeing out there. And I'm very much a believer in that, you can only play the teams on your schedule. So if you're producing, you're doing your job. So, but I understand you got to be able to step up your level of play against higher competition, and Dak's kind of had his moments with that, and Miami has. And really, to crush that narrative, you have to win the game. That's how you do it. So, still waiting on that for both those squads, but not in this one. Dak Prescott was phenomenal. That Dallas Cowboys team looked phenomenal. The defense getting after Sam Howell, and it's been a kind of familiar sight for Commanders fans this year with seeing Sam Howell on the ground, turnovers, and just not being overwhelmed on the offensive line. So, not much else to say, though, because it was just a beatdown.
Yeah. The other two, outside that Detroit game, which got interesting late, the other two were pretty much beatdowns. And the last one we got to get to here was the San Francisco 49ers traveling to Seattle and just putting a whooping on the Seahawks, a 31-13 final. Defense dominant, every bit as dominant as we think they are, and they proved that again on Thanksgiving. Christian McCaffrey, big day, 19 carries, 114 yards, 2 tutties, and Brock Purdy just pretty much the same, low volume, efficient, just take care of the ball football that he's been playing. 8-3 for San Fran. Other than that, nothing for me. These teams are pretty much just who we think they are. They played a game to what we expect they would play. So, Brian, anything on that last Thanksgiving game?
Nothing. Just kind of disappointed. Geno Smith, just another letdown going against a good defense, and it was just real rough in this one.
Yeah. Maybe there was a nice catch by Jackson Smith and Jigba along the sideline of one-hander. Maybe that will get him going. That's the only thing I'm looking for with Seattle's offense. They are in a gauntlet. I believe they have Philadelphia next week, San Fran again. They got to beat some good teams to make the playoffs, so maybe him getting going with that nice catch can be a lift to the Seattle offense. So, Brian, we get to the Black Friday game, the hyped up game we kind of did all year between your Miami Dolphins and the New York Jets. Unfortunately, it wasn't the guy under center we thought preseason. It was Timmy Boyle under center for the New York Jets. And although they flirted with making it a close contest after that pick six, they turned around and gave one of their own on a Hail Mary of all plays to end the first half to Javon Holland. After that, the second half was just dominant defense from your Miami Dolphins, and it ended up being a 34-13 final. Brian, go ahead and touch on what you love out of Miami, what you expected from this game, what you saw, and your thoughts on an 8-3 start after the Thanksgiving mark in this football season.
Well, I think the first thing I want to say is it's just brutal to lose Jalen Phillips, man. I mean, he was having a phenomenal stretch of play coming back from a little oblique injury earlier in the year that he suffered. But
MetLife turf just takes another victim. Can we please ban it at this point? It was really sad to see in live action, man.
It was. You could see the guy, he was bawling his eyes out. And this is a guy who medically retired in college from UCLA from injuries, and he was a highly touted prospect coming into UCLA. And just, you hate to see that for a guy who's already had struggles with that, had some mental health, obviously coming from something like that. And then, but getting new life and transferring over to Miami Hurricanes University and having a phenomenal season, getting drafted early, and really coming on here of late. And just having a great game, and just Achilles snaps. And everyone's heard the MetLife critic. It's just, the history speaks for itself. They should do something about it. Players are getting hurt at a higher rate on the MetLife Stadium than any other field, and it's just, why not do something about it? You could help players stay healthy. You see the NFL's kind of having a problem with that this year. A lot of guys are going down. We've seen a ton of star players go down. So this could be an easy thing you could do to help that. And I would love to see Jalen Phillips continue to play this year, but it could have happened regardless. Prayers up for Jalen Phillips. I hope he gets healthy, and hope to see him next year. But in this game, the defense was dominant. 7 sacks. They really got after him, and I think they had 50 yards total of offense heading into the fourth quarter, and then they were able to
Wow.
get some garbage time yards and
Yeah.
score a touchdown. So,
Jets are cooked, man.
yeah.
Jets are cooked, and they're gonna roll Tim Boyle out there again next week. They kind of know maybe they just trying to tank, and they know that at this point. So I'm sure you're a happy man because that was the rivalry that we tried to hype up preseason. We thought these two teams were fairly evenly matched, but once Aaron Rodgers went down, the snowball effect just really took off, and your Dolphins took care of business on Thanksgiving or Black Friday, that is. So moving on, we're going to get to Sunday slate of action. And to lead off here, we had honestly the coveted, maybe most anticipated 1 o'clock matchup, I think. It was the AFC South leading implication game for the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Houston Texans. Both came in fighting for the first place in the AFC South, and ultimately it was Jacksonville that took home the win, 24-21 on the road. Trevor Lawrence, a good day. Calvin Ridley, as we kind of talked last time me and you spoke, staying more and more involved in this offense.
Yep.
And CJ Stroud looked great, but ultimately no really run game to help him out and take a little pressure off, whereas Jacksonville had that. And then Josh Allen on the defense getting sacks and making big plays for them. Houston, a little absent of that. So two really good teams, a really good football game and really good quarterbacks. I heard your pod and question last week with the debate of Trevor or CJ for the future. Obviously, I didn't get to weigh in on that. I think it's a great question. I respect both of y'all's calls on CJ. I think I lean that way as well myself. But this game today showed you why you wouldn't be wrong taking either of those guys. What did you see from this game, Brian?
I thought it was really a outstanding matchup between the two quarterbacks that we're just getting a good taste of. We're going to see this for a long time. Both of the respective teams, and this Texans-Jaguars rivalry, I think, is going to be a real thing going forward in the NFL with two guys that they both strongly believe have found the faces of their franchise, and it's going to be the guy to take them to the promised land. And they both have great reason to believe that in Trevor Lawrence and CJ Stroud. So I just thought that in this game, you saw both quarterbacks going back and forth. But if CJ Stroud just gets a little more help, I'm leaning his way. And I think that's really what it came down to in this one. His guys did make plays for him, but I believe it was a drop at the end of the game. I watched this one, but a lot of football today. Can't always remember it all, but dang. Good game by both of them. I think it might have been a fumble at the end or a sack in a critical situation, but CJ Stroud did get sacked 4 times today. So credit to Jacksonville's D-line getting after him.
Yeah, we anticipated this one, and I was on the road back traveling from Nashville, getting back home, and the majority of the car ride was spent with Red Zone on the phone, and I'll say it was a lot of Red Zone time spent on the Jacksonville-Houston game for a good reason. These are two really good football teams, and they delivered in spades in this football game. Moving on, next game we got here is an AFC North matchup between the now 7-4 Pittsburgh Steelers, who eked out a road victory against the Joe Burrow-less 5-6 now Cincinnati Bengals. First game without Matt Canada at OC, and the offense was moving the ball a little bit more for Pittsburgh, jumping over that 400-yard of offense total threshold for the first time in almost 60 football games, I believe. And the crazy stat I heard on the broadcast was they're still over 500. They have almost like 34, 35 wins in that time frame. But today, got over that mark, and they got 16 points on the board. It's not a whole lot, but Kenny Pickett threw for 278 yards. Najee Harris had almost 100 yards rushing. Freiermuth, a great tight end, had over 100 or had exactly 120 yards receiving. That balance and that ability to push the ball a little bit better downfield will bode well for Pittsburgh in the future. Obviously, going against this backup quarterback, I don't know. I still don't know how good this team is. I think it's a fine team. I don't think it's the best team, but they're sitting at 7-4 and looking like they have the inside track of a playoff spot. So that's what I took from this football game. Brian, any thoughts on the new look Pittsburgh offense?
No, I know we got to kind of get going a little bit so you can watch Ravens game. So I'm thinking Pat Freiermuth had a great game, and credit to the Steelers by continuing to find ways to win games.
Yes, yeah, I'll agree with you wholeheartedly there. Next one we got is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who were really fighting for their season. I think they needed a win to stay in the hunt, and they weren't able to accomplish that, dropping a 20-27 final on the road against the Indianapolis Colts. Colts hanging around and looking for a potential stolen playoff berth in the AFC now that Cincinnati will be without Joe Burrow. Maybe Buffalo
Mm-hmm.
drops this game here in OT. I'm keeping an eye on against Philadelphia. Maybe a surprise playoff team, but good day from the ground game and the defense for the Colts, who are now without, surprisingly, without Shaq Leonard, who has been pretty bad this year. If we didn't recap this news on the previous pod, they no longer has him as the inside linebacker. So 1-0 without his services. I don't think that was a big difference really on the defense, but they played well against Baker and company.
Yeah, they did. Sacked him 6 times, forced a turnover. Just actually forced 3 turnovers. Baker fumbled the ball twice in this game. I know he got hurt briefly and came back in, but just a good performance by the Colts. Jonathan Taylor had 2 touchdowns on the ground, and Michael Pittman had a good day, over 100 yards receiving. And the big thing is Gardner Minshew kind of taking care of the ball. I mean, he's had a rough start to the year, lots of turnover-worthy plays. Had 2 turnovers in this game, but because of the good defense, because of the rushing attack, they were able to win this game.
Ooh, next one, buddy. Do I even want to talk about the next one? It's the now 4-8 New York Giants beating the now 2-9 New England Patriots 10-7 final, and that one in MetLife Stadium. Oh my goodness, man! New England misses a field goal no longer than an extra point. It was a 30-something yarder to tie the game in the regulation. Mac Jones got benched once again.
Again,
I mean, the water is wet, the sky is blue. This is not news to any of our listeners at this point. Just the toilet bowl, if you will, on this Thanksgiving weekend, Brian. Any notes from that god awful football game?
I'm going to save it for my NFL take. I'll just put that out there.
Okay.
Um,
Noted.
just poor job by the Patriots altogether. I mean, start from the top to the bottom, man. I'll save it for my take. Credit
Okay.
to the Giants, man. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a game in which Saquon Barkley did not play well, did not have a lot going on, and they won the game. The New York Giants, Tommy DeVito led New York Giants, won this game with Saquon Barkley having a mediocre game for his bad game for his standards. But yeah,
Yeah. Brutal.
brutal,
Brutal,
man.
brutal, brutal, man. Brutal watch. And moving on, a couple of NFC South teams that I could describe as brutal, but right now, my best way to describe them is mid. 5-6, both of them now. They're both just pretty mid. And Derek Carr, the middest of all mid QBs. And that's why the
Yes,
New Orleans Saints kept settling for field goals on this day. Derek Carr threw a pick six, a long pick six when they were in the red zone to Jesse Bates that really flipped this game and gave the Falcons the upper hand. And the Saints were unable to catch up all day because it was the Bijan show,
yeah.
and the Drake London show. The guys that are good on the Atlanta offense that we preach get the ball to, they kind of did that enough to score them 24 points and get the win in this football game. Brian, what'd you see from your Atlanta Falcons? Still a little hope for them to make a run here?
I mean, they're winning the division right now. I think they're going to go to the playoffs as an NFC South winner. You know, they're right now. Season ended today. The 5-6
Five.
Falcons
Yeah.
would be in the playoffs, which is crazy. But we all kind of saw this coming into the year. I don't
Yeah.
think many people thought Atlanta would win the division, but they knew it would be a team that probably didn't have the best record winning the division.
Mm.
So I thought it was just a good day for Bijan Robinson and company. I mean, Desmond Ridder did everything he could to give this game to the Saints with 2 interceptions, but he did have 168 yards. They had to respect the pass, I guess, but Bijan, I think he's hope for this team going forward.
Yes, I would agree, Brian. Another quote unquote toilet bowl here in the 4 o'clock, or it may have been the 1 o'clock window. Yeah, this was the last game on the 1 o'clock window, and I can't even remember because obviously these two teams I don't care, do not care a bit about. I know I was leaving Nashville and I got I got to see a lot of Nissan Stadium. I was right near, and a lot of Titans jersey around Nashville still for my Thanksgiving break. That said, this team sucks. Titans are still pretty bad, man, and I will tell that to anyone I saw walk across that street because 17 points against this lowly Panthers team is just not impressive. But 17 points is enough to beat this lowly Panthers team, who now fall to 1-10 on the year, whereas the Titans moved to 4-7. That's all I really have for this, Brian. I didn't care about this game. What about you?
Hey, man, Bryce Young had a chance to go march his team down the field to win this game, forcing it to overtime.
Strip sack.
Screen pass on 4th and 8 as he's getting tackled trying to throw the screen, and as the ball hits the receiver's hands, he's getting lit up, and it's just a perfect example of this Panther offense. So,
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Very well said, Brian. Next one here. I was with you on quote unquote maybe the upset pick in this 4 o'clock window. I had the Denver Broncos. Broncos country is riding and it's ascending, baby. I was with you. I picked them 29-12 victory. Defense is looking as advertised as we thought at the beginning of the year. Maybe that 70-point humbling from your Miami Dolphins has just sparked this team in the direction it needs. And now they're 6-5, sitting at second place in the AFC West, whereas Cleveland, they have the inside track at a playoff spot with a 7-4 record, but without Deshaun Watson, you have to wonder, do they fall out of contention? And losing a game like this on the road could very well spell that. They could end up losing the spot to Denver if they turn things around and have that head-to-head tiebreaker come season end. So just great defensive showing and strong Russell Wilson game, I guess. I'm just looking at the box score here. Any notes from Broncos-Browns today, Brian?
Yes, actually, I thought Dorian Thompson-Robinson played well in this game. The stat line isn't great, 14 of 29, 134 yards and a touchdown, but he had some really nice throws. I don't think it's anything that will last and stand the tale of time, but he did play reasonably well. I guess it's hope for Browns fans out there. He is better than PJ Walker, but he got lit up today. I don't know if you saw it, but he took a shot and left the game, and I think it's a concussion is what they said. It was a head injury, but
wow.
Yeah, man. Credit to the Broncos. Credit to Russell Wilson. Credit to Javonte Williams, Cortland Sutton. I mean, they got some guys that were just looked completely over, I think, by the consensus media. And I looked over Russell Wilson, I'll admit, and he's playing some of the best football of his career right now. So credit to them, man. Nice win, nice team win by the Broncos.
Yep. Next one here is the NFC West matchup, and it was a beatdown from the LA Rams against the now 2-10 Arizona Cardinals out in Tempe, Arizona, wherever they're playing their games at. I'm not sure, but when I saw that Cooper Kupp and the Williams running back was back healthy and available for this game, along with Matt Stafford, of course. That sparked a little hope in me that maybe this Rams team is maybe a team to make a run at this final wildcard spot, considering they've now got 2 wins over Seattle, who have that gauntlet coming up. That head-to-head tiebreaker maybe plays in, season's in. And they're looking impressive, especially on offense. I know it was the Cardinals today, but Mr. Williams, 143 yards on the ground, 2 receiving touchdowns. Matt Stafford tossed 4 touchdowns, 2 to Higbee, the tight end, as well. Great performance for the Rams today. What'd you see from either team here, Brian?
I didn't have a whole lot to say here. I just thought that the Cardinals threw the ball way too many times in this football game against Aaron Donald. I guess they just couldn't run it, but I didn't watch it. This one did not have any interest to me, but one thing I will say is Kyren Williams continues to impress me. I did not think a lot of him coming out in the draft from Notre Dame. I thought he was a little slower. I think he ran a 4.6 40. I mean, this guy just lit up an NFL roster, and I didn't know that he was an NFL caliber player. So complete miss by me, but credit to him, man.
Yeah, wholeheartedly agree. Not someone, he was quick to be snatched up, him and Puka. The Rams just love high-powered waiver wire guys that just rack up fantasy points.
Yeah.
And they find them, and it's working for them. When they're all healthy is the key. It really was the key for them last year. They're a pretty good squad. They're not the upper echelon of the NFC teams, but they're good enough to maybe steal a playoff spot. And they look dominant today, so credit to them.
Sure.
Up next, we have the now 8-3 Kansas City Chiefs, bouncing back from that Monday night loss to Philadelphia, taking a road victory against now the 5-7 Las Vegas Raiders. KC got behind early in this game, a 14-0 deficit after a long Josh Jacobs touchdown run. But no panic from those guys. They've been in just about every situation you can think of in NFL games. And Pat Mahomes continued to do his thing, almost 300 yards through the air. Your guy, Rasheed Rice,
Rasheed
big
Rice.
day. Yes, go ahead and give him the love, Brian, because he had 8 catches for a buck 07 and a tutty. That seemed to me the ascending playmaker that Pat Mahomes desperately needed, and that's why they racked up 31 points and got the victory. Show your love here, Brian.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know you guys saw it, the catch and run, breaking the tackle, showing the balance on the sideline, getting in there for a touchdown, the rack ability, the ability to catch the ball over the middle. I mean, I just think this guy is poised to continue to grow with Patrick Mahomes and just get better and better. I think he's got the skill set, meshes well with him, and, things are starting to pay off. I mean, the guy's had some moments this year, but not quite the vocal point of the offense. I know Travis Kelce was here today, but Rashee Rice led the team in receiving yards and targets, and I think is first on the team in touchdowns. I don't know it for sure. I know he's up there, but
Yeah,
credit, man.
it's a
This
good heck
Raiders
of a
team is
player.
legit too. I want to say
Yeah,
that with
yeah. I
Antonio
mean,
Pierce, they are a lot better.
I think he should be retained. He should be retained if you're asking me now. Just a guy that seems to have a grasp on the locker room, and that's really what's been needed in Vegas.
Yep.
Every other guy's just been it's just in over his head, to say the least. And
Mm-hmm.
there's been just stuff going on nonstop with every Vegas coach since they moved, really, and even dating back to their time in Oakland. So I believe this is the last one we have to get to here, is the game that just went final. I was trying to drag out the rest of the recaps so we could let this one get final. It was an OT matchup. Yeah, great game. Just watched it. The last touchdown here from Jalen Hurts to put the polishing touches on a victory. 37-34 final for victory for the Philadelphia Eagles at home over the now 6-6 Buffalo Bills. Heck of a game. Obviously, when OT is going to be a good football game. The Bills were out in front. I believe they had a 10-point lead at one point. They took the lead with a minute 52 on a Gabe Davis touchdown. Philadelphia went down and tied it on a long field goal from Jake Elliott. Buffalo gets a field goal in their first possession in OT, and then Jalen Hurts, the game-winning touchdown run in overtime. Great play today from Devontae Smith, it looks like. Gabe Davis have a good day, but ultimately a little bit more weapons on the Eagles on offense and defense, and two really good teams. The Eagles just find a way to keep winning these close games, so credit to them. Anything from your Bills, obviously in your division, or the Eagles, who look like the dominant team of football right now?
Yeah, I got two things. But first thing is Jalen Hurts is just such an enigma, man. I mean, this guy had like 50 yards passing. I just was watching this before we came in here, and I look at his stat line, and it looks good. Like, it was completely and utterly just not it when I just looked at it before we got on the pod. And then he finishes the game with 200 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 5 touchdowns, man. I mean, I think 4 of them came in the fourth quarter, in the third and fourth quarter in the overtime period. So, man,
Yep.
that's insane. But then on the other side, real quick, on Buffalo, you can tell they were pressing to win this one. Josh Allen, 9 rushing attempts, 81 yards, 339 yards to the air with 51 pass attempts. So this has kind of always been a thing for me in this Bills offense, kind of similar to what we say about Lamar at times. Just too much. He's being asked to do too much. And it's just not sustainable, man. And this is one of those games. Great play, though. Just a lot for him.
Great game. Heartbreaking loss for the Bills though, because dropping to 6-6 in the AFC, a lot of other teams ascending, and they could be on the outside looking in with this loss here. So that'll do it for our NFL recaps. We have a few takes to get to and a few minutes here before I get to watch my Ravens kick off Sunday Night Football. I don't have a Ravens take for this week, Brian, since we are yet to kick off, but I do have an NFL. If you have a Dolphins take, I'll let you go ahead and run with that, or if you have your NFL take, go ahead with that as well.
I just want to say with Jalen Phillips being out, the guys that are kind of going to step in to replace him, we've seen Andrew Van Ginkel this year. He's played well. He'll be kind of part of that contribution, but also Emmanuel Ogba, who's getting paid $16 million to essentially ride the pine this year, is going to have to make some plays. I know when he's gotten action, limited time he has, mostly in garbage time, he's made plays, but he did get a strip sack last week against Tim Boyle. So having him in there, you'll also see a little bit more David Long as a stack backer. Andrew Van Ginkel's been getting some run there, but we're probably going to need him more on the edge going forward, especially on passing down as a rush passer. Just losing Jalen Phillips is just massive, and it really hurts because he was just having a great season. But yeah, that's just my NFL take. Want some shine the light on some very important replacements and Miami's depth getting tested here. Potentially eyeing Derek Barnett, former first-round pick out of Tennessee. That's kind of not had the best.
Just cut by
Yep,
Philadelphia.
just got cut.
So that seems like a easy or a schematically fit for you guys. Just someone who's at least got the pedigree of being a high draft pick. He's not obviously not going to come in and do Jalen Phillips things, but just someone to take the pressure off the other edge guys and get some depth in that unit. So brutal injury. Each team seems to have it this year. Mike Williams for Christian, Mark Andrews here recently for me. But as we said earlier, the MetLife turf is just a point that I want to hammer home. I really want to see the NFL make a change on that. That's my rebuttal to that Dolphins take on the week. So moving along, we've got the NFL takes of the week. And mine here is going to circle back to the Thanksgiving game. Obviously, the Cowboys are a huge topic. We talk about them really ad nauseum, it feels like at times. But with the defense playing the way it is, the emergence of Deron Bland, and Dak Prescott, for everything that's said about him, I think him, Tony Pollard, CeeDee Lamb, those are skill position players that I think a lot of teams would kill to have right now. And they can put up points with the best of them. Maybe people thought that it was Kellen Moore being that guy, but all offseason I heard Cowboys fans really rejuvenated and overjoyous that Kellen Moore was gone to LA. And Christian's rebuttal was that, man, that was the guy getting the things done around there. My take is I think Dak Prescott's been the guy getting things done. And yeah, he's had his lumps. He for certain has had his lumps against better teams. But I'm ready to say I'd have to revisit my top NFL QB rankings list. But to me, he is right there at the top, like 10 mark. He is right there. If you're asking a healthy Kirk Cousins or Dak Prescott, I think I'm ready to say Dak Prescott. I'm trying to think of other guys right there with him that you could argue, but to me, he gets floated around in the Derek Carr, the Ryan Tannehill, the Jimmy Garoppolo category, and I think he's just so much better in that. So, Brian, how good do you think Dak really is? Is he good enough to mess around, beat a good team this year? If he gets that marquee win, you know your Dolphins looking for it, the Cowboys looking for it. If he gets that marquee win against, say, your Dolphins or or the Philadelphia in the later game, could he mess around and steal MVP? Because he's starting to get the talks here, brother. My take is he very well could because he's a pretty good quarterback and he's got the numbers to back it up. So, Brian, what do you think?
I think he's played well enough to be in contention, but I don't think he gets it.
No, I
I
don't.
think
I'll hammer home now that on record, Dak Prescott will not win this MVP, but he'll be in the conversation. That's all I have to say.
I think he'll be in the conversation, but I think at some point it'll fizzle out. I think he's a good quarterback. I think, like you said, he's the one who's doing it, but I also think he's the one who's holding back at times. I think, like I touched on earlier, I just think it's always been consistency. We've seen extremely hot paces by him. The year he broke his ankle, he was on pace to
Yes.
shatter the passing record. And I mean, he
Yes.
was just playing out of his mind week in and week out. And then we see lower performances that can't really be explained, just some accuracy issues, and it's kind of hard to explain because you see just insanely high levels of play at times. But I think it's just that consistency thing, man. And having the running game really helps him steady out and find his rhythm at times when he has some lesser games. But I think he's a good quarterback. I think he floats between that 8 to 12 range. And I would take him over Kirk Cousins at this point in time. I think he offers you.
I like that. I like that answer, Ryan, because that's a quarterback I would throw on par with, but You're comparing Kurt, who gets to work with Justin
Yep.
Jefferson, and Dak is making CD Lamb look almost as good as Justin Jefferson, and that's a big statement because CD Lamb's a great player, but it takes a guy to continuously get him the ball. He does a great job at that. Just want to give him a little love.
Yeah.
Cowboys are a good team. Cowboys are a good team, and they showcased that on Thanksgiving. So, Brian, I'll let you get your NFL take, and then we'll get out of here and watch some Sunday Night Football.
Oh man, oh man. The New England Patriots are 2-9. Bill Belichick. I mean, what excuses do we have this week for his coaching decisions? I mean, you look at the limbs of Patriot disciple coaches, Joe Judge, Brian Flores, Josh McDaniels. How do all of them have no idea how to handle a quarterback? Like zero clue how to handle a young quarterback. I'm not like a Mac
Preach.
Jones advocate by no means or stretch of the imagination. I mean, I've kind of crapped on the guy several times here on the pod, but he's not this bad. He is not this bad. And I've seen from personal experience bad management by head coaches with their young quarterback, from Brian Flores with Tua Tagovailoa. And I don't think it's a coincidence they're both off the New England tree with Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick has a losing record without Tom Brady. It's not a coincidence. And it's not a coincidence the Patriots are 2-9 and have a bare bone roster and they're up against the cap. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence to keep pulling Mac Jones and starting him every week and get the same result every week. I mean, it's just
Preach.
utterly ridiculous, man. I mean, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And they continue to bench Mac Jones, wonder why his confidence is ruined, wonder why the New England offense is a disaster, and they're wondering why Bailey Zappi's not getting it done out there. I mean, this is brutal, man. It is absolutely brutal. Bill Belichick deserves to be fired. He should be fired. And if he's not fired, you got some serious questions in the front office, and it's even a worse position than if you just fired him. That's what I had to say.
Wow, man. Go in. Obviously, these AFC East teams have really taken a backseat to now your Miami Dolphins. None more so than New England Patriots. They ran that division for a long time. And the talk of the NFL media and the NFL fans everywhere was you've got the best head coach in the league, you've got the best quarterback of all time. That'll do it. As we get here past the post Tom Brady NFL era, it's starting to seem that you're right, Brian. Tom Brady really carried that franchise. He's the GOAT for a reason.
Yes.
And while Bill Belichick is a special mind when it comes to defense and special teams, handling a quarterback has never been his forte. And Brady was such a competitor, such a GOAT, for lack of a better word here right now. He just took everything you needed to be handled on offense and in the QB room. He took that and checked every box you needed to check. The coach, Belichick, and the offensive coordinators didn't really need to have a hand in that. And post Brady, we're seeing that in New England right now. I agree with you. I don't think Mac Jones is that bad of a
He's
quarterback. I
not.
saw him really dice things up at Alabama with when Devontae Smith a Heisman because he consistently had a playmaker to feed the ball to. Obviously, a step in the NFL is a huge step up in competition, and NFL defenses present a whole different challenge. But his rookie year, he showcased a lot of things that he's not the most handicapped quarterback. He can do things. He can win football games for you, especially when you have a good, healthy defense, which Bill Belichick can still provide when it's healthy.
Yep.
And they were missing a lot of pieces today in these last few weeks, but they're still playing pretty decent defense, being undermanned right now. But I'm with you, Brian. It seems that it's more of a relationship that just needs to go its separate ways at this point. And I don't think Bill is really ever going to be a QB guy. So maybe he needs to go out, find a franchise that this is going to be a hard pair to make. But I don't know, maybe Washington.
Chargers.
Like you think Sam Howell? Yeah, God, Chargers. We'll have to. Man, I wish Christian was here right now. That's a great point, Brian. Great point. I didn't even, because I'm so used to just expecting Staley to have been fired by now, and he's still not somehow. I don't know how, but obviously my Ravens win tonight. Hopefully, maybe that's the case here soon. By season's end, it has to be the case. if there's ever any job where Bill Belichick just doesn't have to touch the offense, it's when
Chargers.
you have Justin Herbert as your quarterback and playmakers like Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and others on that side of the ball. He can get his fingerprints on the Chargers defense and the Chargers special teams. Look out. Truthfully, I don't want that. And as an AFC guy, I don't want to deal with that. So I hope the New England relationship stays intact. But I see your
Me too.
point, Brian. I think it's a relationship that just needs to go its separate ways at this point. I would love to hear Christian's take on that possibility. Maybe next time we talk to him.
For sure.
Obviously, we got our Chargers and Ravens kicking off here right now. So I'm going to wrap things up, Brian, unless you have any final notes, and we'll get out of here.
One last thing on that take, and it was part of the take, but one potential target for the Atlanta Falcons this offseason should be quarterback Mac Jones. If they're not looking to draft one. I think he can be a guy, man. And not a guy, but like
the guy to get them to the playoffs.
Yeah. Much better than Taylor Heineke. I mean, I think he could operate the offense to a T.
Yes, I would agree with you, because now that they're sitting at 5-6, they're obviously going to try to win this division, the worst division in football, and that's not going to put him in a draft position to select one of these upper echelon QBs in next year's draft. So if you're looking for that marginal upgrade, you can't find a veteran that's a free agent that wants to come to you, maybe a trade for one Mac Jones, whose stock is never going to be lower. You would be getting him on the lowest of trade values right now. So maybe that is a move that is to be flirted with.
They might draft quarterback in the offseason, do a complete reset. If they do fire Belichick, they'll be drafting high. So, they could be drafting in Drake May territory. But that's all I have to say.
Yeah, and honestly, that's kind of what I hope for, so that Belichick maybe gets this false sense of hope that things can be salvaged in New England, and he's going to be dependent on a stud rookie QB to come in and make New England relevant again. And I'd rather see that and expect that to all likelihood fall apart, whereas he get his hands on Justin Herbert and the Chargers. So great question there for the pod, Brian. Great talking with you on this Thanksgiving week of great football and great food throughout the week, obviously. Hopefully, it's been a while since all three of us have been together, but hopefully things turn in that direction for Wednesday. We have a good – what's that?
Sorry, never mind. My bad. It's next Wednesday I'll miss, not this one.
Yeah, I was about to say. Well, I know if you're going to be vacationing or you will be out of town for work that following Wednesday. So hopefully, all things considered, we're winding down this football season. Us three can get together this Wednesday for the pod, recap the Sunday night game I'm about to watch and the Monday night game, and give you all our NFL Week 13 picks. Flying along in the season, just flying along. I'm Chase Owens. You can follow me at Chase Owens 96 on Twitter. My co-host Brian here at Tua_Tua Train. Is that right, Brian?
Yep. Starver_Brian.
Follow him. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Follow him on Twitter, please. Give us a like, share, subscribe, rate, review all the podcasts on every platform you get your podcast. The TikToks, YouTube Shorts, all those good things. Like and comment, please continue to do so. Thank you all for tuning in. We will see you for the NFL Week 13 preview show on Thursday morning. Peace out.
Peace.
Let's go, Lamar.